The story starts with Sakurai thinking about how everyone hides something from their past. Most people try to forget it because it is dark and scary. Right after that, the scene turns disturbing. Lifeless bodies are lying everywhere, and a strange girl is standing there like nothing even happened. She calmly says that she has already taken care of all the dangerous people who were chasing him. In her mind, he belongs only to her. After this creepy moment, the story shifts to a lawyer talking to Sakurai's mother. The lawyer explains that he has seen cases like this before, but they are very rare. Every case is different, and each one involves a different kind of stalker. He suggests that Sakurai should move to a new place because a new environment might reduce the danger around him. At school, Sakurai stays quiet and keeps to himself. He sits alone while the other students whisper about him. Some of them start spreading rumors, saying he might be a ghost because he has not spoken for a whole week. Sakurai hears everything and feels annoyed, but he also knows that even if he tried to explain the truth, nobody would believe him. While the students keep talking, they mention a new girl who recently moved into the neighborhood. They say both of her arms are fully covered in bandages. The moment Sakurai hears that, he feels alarmed. It reminds him of the same mysterious girl from earlier. She once warned him that the police cannot protect him. She also told him that the ones chasing him are not even human, even though they look like creatures from myths or fantasy. Still, she promised that she would destroy anything that tries to hurt him. Suddenly, a girl named Yude-san walks up to Sakurai and lightly touches him. He gets badly startled. She quickly apologizes and tries to act friendly, saying they should be friends. Sakurai immediately refuses and tells her to stay away from him for her own safety. But Yude-san does not back off. Instead, she brings up a rumor that sounds way too close to his fears. She says the bandaged girl has been going around town asking people about a new student who just transferred. This confirmation fills Sakurai with dread that Miyako has come after him. Realizing the danger is closing in, Yude-san offers her help and leads him to an abandoned school building, claiming it is the perfect place for her mission. Although Sakurai hesitates and expresses concern about putting her in danger, she remains determined. She hints that the bandaged girl will eventually interfere with her mission, but insists that the order of events cannot be changed. Inside the deserted building, the situation takes a bizarre turn. Yude-san suddenly begins to transform, shedding her human appearance and taking on a disturbing worm-like form. Sakurai stands frozen in shock, unable to process what he is witnessing. His fear intensifies as he desperately hopes that everything is just a nightmare, because otherwise, he believes he is about to die. Before anything else happens, Miyako suddenly appears and attacks the transformed Yude-san without hesitation. Miyako shows no mercy as she brutally wounds the creature, expressing intense anger over the fact that it left a mark on Sakurai. Sakurai is stunned by her sudden arrival and her violent actions. Miyako then reveals her own obsession, declaring that Sakurai belongs to her and that it is her responsibility to protect him. She explains that the beings targeting him are often referred to as yokai or specters, inhuman entities that prey on him. Her devotion appears extreme, as she is willing to eliminate anything that stands in her way, no matter how monstrous it may be. As Miyako continues to torture the transformed Yude-san, Sakurai feels trapped and overwhelmed. He begins to question whether he is being forced into accepting her protection just to survive. Miyako, despite her strange and frightening nature, pleads for his safety, showing that she also wants to protect him in her own way. The situation escalates further as supernatural forces come into play. Miyako, being a wolf-like creature, attacks the transformed Yude-san, finally putting an end to the immediate threat. Miyako reassures Sakurai that he is now safe, while expressing an intense and almost suffocating affection toward him, claiming she would do anything for his sake. Sakurai, still frightened, realizes that he has little choice but to endure this situation. Accepting her presence may be the only way to stay alive. As she embraces him tightly, she warns that letting her go would only expose him to even greater danger. Sakurai begins to notice multiple strange entities watching him from the shadows. Miyako points out that he was naive to think only one being was after him. Surrounded by unseen threats, Sakurai can only convince himself that this must all be a dream, while Miyako takes comfort in his disbelief. When Sakurai regains consciousness, he feels as if he is waking from the nightmare once again. His vision clears, and the first thing he notices is Miyako sitting beside him, greeting him warmly as if this situation is completely normal. Her presence immediately confuses him, and he wonders why she is there at all. Miyako calmly explains that she made a promise to stay by his side, and she even mentions that she borrowed his clothes without hesitation. Sakurai grows more uneasy and begins to question how she even managed to enter his house. Miyako casually reveals that his mother has already gone to work and even asks him to pass along her greetings later. While Sakurai struggles to piece together how long he has been unaware, Miyoko cheerfully informs him that she has already prepared breakfast for him, acting as though they share a routine life together. The situation feels wrong to Sakurai, and his instincts urge him to escape. As he moves toward the door and reaches for the lock, Miyoko quickly warns him to stop. At that exact moment, a massive, unnatural hand suddenly appears nearby, startling him so badly that he immediately backs away. Miyoko remains calm and explains that the creature has been there for quite some time, assuring him that it is nothing to worry about. She even scolds the creature in a chilling manner, threatening to kill it if it continues to interfere. Sakurai starts to believe he might still be trapped in a nightmare, unable to accept what he is seeing. Meanwhile, Miyoko gently redirects the situation and suggests they eat breakfast together. She offers him food, but he hesitates, unsure whether he can trust her. When he stops, she becomes curious and wonders if he dislikes rolled omelette. She eagerly expresses her willingness to cook anything he prefers, trying to appear caring and attentive. Despite his suspicion that the food might contain something strange, Sakurai cautiously takes a bite. After eating, he notices that Miyoko does not eat anything herself, which raises another question in his mind. He wonders if her behavior is connected to her being some kind of escorting wolf, something that clearly separates her from normal humans. At this point, Sakurai decides he needs answers. He firmly insists that if she expects him to trust her, she must reveal the truth about what she is and why her kind seems interested in him. Miyoko explains that people often believe they are spirits or urban legends, but in reality, they are remnants of something that once existed long ago. She assumes that Sakurai should already know about their origins, which only deepens his confusion. Sakurai denies having any knowledge, but her questioning begins to trigger something buried deep within him. A painful memory resurfaces, showing a man violently beating him while accusing him of being nothing more than a thief. Overwhelmed by this memory, Sakurai suddenly lashes out at Miyoko, accusing her of targeting him just like others have before. Miyoko remains strangely calm even in that tense moment. She wonders if he would actually go as far as killing her if she continued to push him. When he confirms this without hesitation, she responds in an unsettling yet devoted way, expressing that such an end would be an honor if it meant staying connected to him, even as a lasting trauma in his life. Her reaction causes Sakurai to freeze, unable to process her words. Instead of resisting, Miyoko gently embraces him and reassures him that no matter what kind of past he carries, she will never reject or despise him. She expresses her desire to always remain by his side, offering unconditional acceptance that he clearly struggles to understand. Later at school, Sakurai firmly tells Miyoko to stop following him, trying to create distance between them. Miyoko agrees to wait until school ends, respecting his request in her own way. Before leaving, Sakurai warns her not to test him again and dismisses her as nothing more than a stalker. Miyoko quietly accepts his harsh words and reassures him that she will still come to protect him if anything happens. As Sakurai walks away, Miyoko watches him from a distance. Her expression shifts, revealing a mix of fascination and desire. She feels strangely excited by his anger, finding it tempting in a way she cannot fully control. Deep down, she admits to herself that she wants to consume him. At that moment, she senses a familiar presence nearby, something that belongs to her kind. The atmosphere becomes tense, and she realizes that things are becoming active again. With August 9th approaching, she understands that the quiet will not last much longer. Miyoko senses that one of them is nearby, though the exact presence remains unclear. In the classroom, a group of students casually discuss Yude-san, who is absent today. Rumors spread that she is transferring schools, and no one seems to know the real reason. They mention how her entire family suddenly left, making the situation even more suspicious. The conversation quickly turns toward Sakurai. Some students remember that he was with Yude-san just the previous day, suggesting he might know something. However, none of them are willing to approach him. They view him as unsettling and strange, creating a clear distance between him and the rest of the class. Sakurai overhears everything, and a mix of anger and frustration begins to build inside him. He remains silent, but his thoughts grow darker as he listens to their careless assumptions. As lunchtime approaches, the students decide to leave and buy food, continuing their gossip as if nothing serious has happened. Sakurai internally criticizes them, thinking they speak too much without understanding anything. He believes that even if they knew the truth, they would never accept it. His thoughts drift toward Miyoko, imagining what she would do if she heard these rumors. In his mind, a disturbing image forms where she appears and demands praise, surrounded by the bodies of those who mocked him. The tension breaks when some students near the window notice unusual activity at the school gate. Curiosity spreads quickly, and Sakurai instinctively checks as well. The moment he sees what is happening outside, fear takes over him. Without hesitation, he rushes toward the gate, leaving the others confused and whispering among themselves. They begin speculating whether Miyako outside matches the rumors they have heard. Some feel surprised by her appearance, while others do not find her as frightening as expected. Sakurai reaches the gate and calls out to Miyako. Miyako acknowledges him calmly, appearing as if she has been searching for something. Sakurai grows uneasy, wondering what she intends to do this time. He realizes he cannot leave her alone in such a place. Meanwhile, the students gather and begin connecting the situation with the rumors. They conclude that she must be Sakurai's stalker, the same one Yude-san allegedly warned others about. This leads them to believe that Yude-san's sudden transfer is linked to this dangerous presence. They also remember hearing that a similar incident occurred at Sakurai's previous school. Sakurai becomes aware that the rumors about Miyako have already spread widely. For a brief moment, he thinks about confirming them, thinking it might improve how others see him. He believes that by presenting himself as another victim, he could gain their sympathy. However, fear stops him from speaking out. Despite his silence, his resentment toward the students grows stronger, as he feels misunderstood and isolated. The situation escalates when Miyako reveals that she has already dealt with Yude-san. Sakurai freezes at this revelation, and the students react with shock and anger. They quickly label her as dangerous and assume the worst. Convinced that she has done something terrible, they decide to confront her aggressively. Sakurai feels that things are getting out of control, but he also realizes that Miyako has openly exposed herself, leaving no room for denial. The students begin attacking her, driven by fear and disgust. They view her loyalty as disturbing and unacceptable. In the chaos, Sakurai steps forward to protect her, placing himself between Miyako and the attackers. A thrown stone strikes his face, causing bleeding. Miyako becomes visibly shaken by this, while the students question his actions, unable to understand his decision. As the situation worsens, Miyako intervenes and grabs Sakurai. In an instant, they vanish from the scene. They reappear in a different, quiet location, far away from the school. The immediate danger fades, and Miyako focuses on his injury, noticing that the bleeding has stopped. Sakurai questions why she brought him there, still confused by everything happening around him. Miyako explains that the creature she chased away earlier in the morning had appeared again at the school. It had blended in among the students, but she recognized its face. Her actions, though extreme, were driven by this hidden threat. Sakurai begins to understand the situation but also realizes the consequences. He knows that returning to school is no longer possible for her. Miyako then expresses admiration for Sakurai's actions, which catches him off guard. He reflects on how he has never heard such words from his own mother, making the moment feel strange and unfamiliar. As she embraces him, the scene takes on a quieter tone. However, the calm is short-lived, as an unseen figure watches them from a distance, hinting that the danger is far from over. Miyako is standing outside Sakurai's house, urging him to open the door. Inside, Sakurai refuses and explains that he has decided not to return to school. He has not informed his mother yet, but his homeroom teacher is expected to visit soon to check on him. He understands that Miyako's presence would create serious trouble if she is seen, so he firmly insists that she should stay away for now. Miyako expresses concern, warning that if the visitor turns out to be a monster, Sakurai will be in danger. Sakurai responds with a conflicted mindset, telling himself that if such a situation occurs, Miyako will come and protect him anyway. He feels that he is asking too much from her, yet he convinces himself that this level of reliance is acceptable given everything that has happened. Miyako accepts this role without hesitation, making it clear through her actions that she will always protect him no matter what. Sakurai reflects on the situation and realizes he feels trapped. He believes he has no real choice because Miyako is dangerous, yet he continues to depend on her. As Miyako moves closer, she curiously wonders how he would call out to her if he needed help. The moment grows tense, but before anything else can happen, the homeroom teacher arrives. The homeroom teacher quickly intervenes, pulling Miyako away and positioning herself as someone there to help Sakurai. The situation becomes awkward as Sakurai tries to clarify that things are not what they appear to be. Shortly after, the teacher calms down and apologizes for the misunderstanding. She introduces herself as Ashimi and assumes that Miyako is a relative or guardian. With that assumption, she feels more comfortable continuing her visit. Sakurai carefully observes Miyako's behavior during this interaction. He notices that she shows no hostile reaction, which leads him to conclude that Ashimi is not a monster. However, despite this relief, Sakurai struggles internally. He no longer knows how to communicate properly with ordinary, non-threatening people. His social anxiety and confusion become more evident as the conversation continues. Ashimi attempts to create a friendly atmosphere by presenting a gift. She takes out a container of cookies that she has baked herself. She appears slightly nervous, as this is her first time baking, but she emphasizes that she put in effort because she genuinely wants to build a good relationship with Sakurai. After some hesitation, Sakurai decides to try one. Miyako quietly observes his reaction, noticing that he displays satisfaction that she has never seen from him before. Ashimi reassures him that it is fine if he prefers to eat them later and allows him to keep the container. She then gently brings up the topic of school, asking when he plans to return. She explains that the classmates are waiting for him and mentions that she has already spoken to them. According to her, the misunderstandings about Miyako can be resolved if things are properly explained. Sakurai internally rejects this idea. He recalls how those same classmates spread rumors and even attacked someone without hesitation. He cannot believe that they would suddenly change just because a teacher spoke to them. Ashimi notices his hesitation and moves closer, trying to convince him. She encourages the idea of starting over, suggesting that he has the potential to change and that he is inherently a good person. As she continues, Sakurai begins to feel something unusual. Her voice seems to echo in his mind, creating a strange sensation that makes him feel as if he should obey her. The atmosphere becomes unsettling as their hands come into contact. In that moment, Ashimi's behavior shifts slightly, giving off an eerie impression that something is not right. Sakurai senses this change and becomes uncomfortable. Trust begins to break down, and he instinctively calls out for Miyako in his mind, seeking protection. Miyako immediately intervenes, disrupting the strange influence surrounding him. Ashimi quickly regains composure and apologizes, attributing her behavior to a brief lapse. She decides to end the visit there, leaving behind an uneasy silence. Later that night, Sakurai calls for Miyako and questions whether he can truly trust her. Miyako, however, remains focused and directs her attention toward Ashimi, who shows up in front of her. Miyako points out that earlier in the day, Ashimi did not carry the scent associated with the creatures she hunted. Miyako prepares to act, demanding to know what Ashimi truly is before taking any further step. Miyako confronts Ashimi about what happened at the school. She questions whether Ashimi influenced the students, trying to understand the strange events surrounding Sakurai. Ashimi responds in a vague and unsettling way, avoiding a direct answer and instead implying that humans are usually unable to perceive beings like her. She explains that creatures like them exist beyond normal awareness, often mistaken for natural phenomena. Only those who lose control or intentionally reveal themselves can be noticed, hinting that her earlier appearance was deliberate. Miyako grows suspicious but remains determined. She realizes that arguing will not lead anywhere and focuses on her own objective. Her thoughts become darker as she decides that eliminating all obstacles is the only way to protect what she loves. Ashimi, however, criticizes this mindset. She views Miyako as crude and unfit, especially when it comes to Sakurai. In her eyes, Sakurai needs someone who can guide him carefully, someone who can shape his life and control his growth. Ashimi imagines a future where Sakurai becomes completely dependent on her, unable to function without her presence. This difference in perspective creates a deep clash between them. Miyako relies purely on emotion, believing her love alone is enough. Ashimi, on the other hand, approaches everything with cold logic, seeing control and manipulation as necessary. Ashimi reminds Miyako that she does not fully understand her own nature, suggesting that her existence carries more weight than she realizes. She presents herself as a being once worshipped and feared, elevating her presence above ordinary understanding. The tension quickly escalates as Ashimi delivers a chilling prediction. She declares that Miyako's death is inevitable, framing it as a prophecy rather than a threat. This moment reveals the true nature of Ashimi, identifying herself as something far beyond human. Miyako refuses to be intimidated, and both of them abandon their human appearances, transforming into their monstrous forms. A fierce battle begins, driven by their conflicting beliefs and obsession with Sakurai. The fight is intense but calculated, showing how different they are even in combat. Miyako relies on raw emotion and overwhelming force, while Ashimi uses strategy and preparation. Suddenly, the situation shifts when a third party intervenes. A girl attacks Miyako unexpectedly, creating an opening that Ashimi had already planned. It becomes clear that Ashimi never intended to fight fairly. She had manipulated the girl beforehand, promising her safety in exchange for cooperation. Once the girl serves her purpose, Ashimi eliminates her without hesitation. This act demonstrates her ruthless nature and her belief that survival depends on using others as tools. To Ashimi, emotions are weaknesses and logic always comes first. Even at this moment, Miyako refuses to accept Ashimi's reasoning. She rejects the idea of calculated love, insisting that true devotion cannot coexist with cold logic. Her feelings for Sakurai overwhelm everything else, pushing her to continue fighting despite the disadvantage. Her intensity grows stronger, fueled by obsession rather than reason. The battle reaches its turning point as Miyako overpowers Ashimi. Despite Ashimi's careful planning, she fails to account for the sheer force of Miyako's emotions. Ashimi is ultimately defeated, but even in defeat, she remains calm and composed. She treats the outcome as temporary, suggesting that their conflict is far from over. Miyako attempts to end everything in that moment, determined to erase Ashimi completely. However, Ashimi leaves behind a final warning. She hints that their paths will cross again, implying that beings like them cannot simply disappear. Before fading away, she reveals one last piece of information that shifts the tone of the story. Ashimi warns that another dangerous presence exists within the city, something she describes as a poison. This unseen threat is even more concerning because its effects will go unnoticed by everyone. The idea introduces a looming disaster, suggesting that the current conflict is only the beginning of something much larger. As her final words linger, Ashimi places the blame on Miyako, addressing her in a way that questions her identity. She implies that Miyako is no longer what she once was, hinting at a deeper transformation that has already taken place. Sakurai experiences a dream about a distant memory. In that memory, a girl prepares to leave town the next day, while expressing a quiet but intense determination to find him again no matter how much time passes. The moment feels emotional and unfinished, as if something important was about to happen but never did. This lingering feeling follows him even after he wakes up. Sakurai opens his eyes and reflects on how peaceful his sleep was, likely because everything around him had been unusually quiet. As his senses return, he notices Miyako sitting beside him, still asleep. Her presence brings him some comfort, but something feels off. When he looks closer, he notices her clothes are torn, hinting at a possible struggle. This raises concern in his mind, though he does not fully dwell on it. Trying to move forward with his day, Sakurai shifts his focus to something simple like food. He spots a note left on the table from his mother regarding lunch preparation. However, he realizes his mother is extremely busy and not around to help. Accepting the situation, he decides he has no choice but to step outside and buy something from a nearby convenience store. Before leaving, he carefully carries Miyako and lays her down on his bed. He worries that if neighbors see her in such a state, it could lead to unnecessary trouble. Once he ensures she is resting properly, he steps outside, trying to stay calm and convince himself that everything is normal. He repeats that everyone around him is human, as if trying to suppress his growing unease. As he walks through the area, he notices a group of students returning from school. Their casual conversation reminds him of normal life, but also triggers anxiety. He quickly hides, not wanting to be seen. He feels a deep frustration, believing none of the strange events happening around him are his fault, yet he is forced to live in fear and isolation. Realizing he cannot stay here, he decides to head toward another store instead. However, as he continues walking, the atmosphere suddenly shifts. Strange creatures appear and begin to approach him. Their presence feels unnatural, even in broad daylight, which makes the situation even more terrifying. One of them forces him to look directly at it, overwhelming him with fear. Sakurai collapses to the ground, unable to resist. Panic takes over as he realizes he might not survive this encounter. In his desperation, he mentally calls out for Miyako, hoping for help. Just as things seem hopeless, a girl suddenly appears in front of him. Her presence immediately changes the atmosphere, bringing a strange sense of calm. She reassures him without panic and gently places her hat over his head, asking him to close his eyes for a moment. Her tone suggests confidence, as if she is completely in control of the situation. While Sakurai keeps his eyes shut, the girl quietly handles whatever threat is around them. Her actions are swift and effortless, described almost as if she is simply taking out the trash. There is no struggle, no noise, only a brief pause before everything becomes still again. After a short moment, she tells him it is safe to open his eyes. When Sakurai looks up, he is shocked to see her clearly. The girl smiles warmly, as if they share a deep connection. She notices his appearance and subtly comments on how he looks, showing familiarity and concern. Without hesitation, she pulls him into a tight embrace, expressing how long she has waited to see him again. Her emotions are overwhelming, as she reveals that the time spent apart felt like endless suffering. To her, those years were like living in hell, filled with longing and pain. Now that she has finally found him, she clings to him tightly, unable to hide how much she missed him. Sakurai, however, feels confused and slightly uncomfortable with the sudden closeness. He asks her to let him go, unsure of how to process everything happening around him. The situation feels unreal, moving too quickly for him to understand. At the same time, back at the house, Miyako wakes up. She immediately notices Sakurai is gone and begins calling out for him. Her concern grows as she realizes he has left without her, especially given the dangers surrounding them. Yasan shifts the conversation in an unexpected direction, curiously asking Sakurai if there is someone he likes right now. Her tone carries a teasing warmth, as if she is trying to understand how much he has changed over the years. Sakurai reacts with confusion at first, clearly not expecting such a question, and wonders why she would bring up something like that. Yae-san lightly explains that people his age are usually more vulnerable to romantic feelings, describing it as a natural part of youth. However, Sakurai responds in a cold and distant manner, revealing that he does not like anyone at all and even claims to hate everyone. His answer reflects the isolation and emotional walls he has built over time. Yae-san accepts his response calmly, but her expression suggests she is not entirely surprised. Sakurai then turns the question back on her, asking if she has someone she likes. Instead of answering directly, Yae-san reacts with a quiet, amused laugh, hinting that he will understand the answer soon enough. The atmosphere slowly becomes heavier as Yae-san begins to open up about her feelings. She reflects on the short time they spent together in the past, explaining that even though it was brief, those moments were incredibly meaningful to her. She observes how much Sakurai has changed since then, acknowledging that his transformation makes sense given everything he has been through. Despite the years apart, she reveals that she never forgot him, not even once. Yae-san explains that after they were separated, she could not remain where she was. The thought that Sakurai might forget her consumed her completely, pushing her to keep moving forward no matter what. As she speaks, she steps closer to him, her emotions becoming more intense and harder to contain. She declares that she can no longer hold herself back, as if she has reached her limit after waiting for so long. Sakurai instinctively tries to stop her from getting too close, feeling overwhelmed by the sudden intensity. Yae-san, however, interprets his reaction as embarrassment and suggests they go somewhere more private, away from other people. To her, this moment feels like a special reunion worth celebrating, something destined to happen. Her words carry a strange mix of affection and obsession, making the situation increasingly uncomfortable. Before anything can progress further, Miyako suddenly appears. Her presence immediately shifts the tone, as she arrives with visible anger and sharp awareness of the situation. She senses the presence of monsters and blood in the area, realizing that something dangerous has taken place. Her focus locks onto Sakurai, making it clear she has no intention of letting him go. The setting transitions to an abandoned school building, a place filled with eerie silence and danger. Yae-san reflects on how she and Sakurai used to spend time in similar deserted places long ago. To her, those simple moments were enough to bring happiness. She questions whether Sakurai is enjoying himself now, but her words feel disconnected from the grim reality around them. As Sakurai looks around, he notices numerous dead bodies scattered across the area, revealing the true extent of what has happened. Yae-san casually explains that after a certain powerful presence disappeared, many others came rushing in, only to be easily defeated. She dismisses them as foolish and insignificant, showing no remorse for what she has done. Her tone remains disturbingly cheerful, as if she is genuinely enjoying herself. Sakurai begins to piece everything together and directly questions whether Yae-san has always been a monster. Instead of denying it, she responds in a way that suggests she is curious about his reaction. Surprisingly, Sakurai does not reject her. Instead, he expresses a sense of relief, realizing that her true nature explains why he always felt safe when he was with her in the past. This realization deepens the emotional complexity of the moment. Meanwhile, Miyako watches silently from a distance, carefully observing their interaction. The tension between the three characters continues to build, with each of them standing on completely different sides of the situation. Yae-san then admits that she no longer needs to hide anything, feeling almost foolish for worrying about how to explain herself. She briefly acknowledges Miyako's presence but dismisses it as unimportant compared to what she is about to reveal. In her mind, nothing else matters anymore, especially now that she believes her bond with Sakurai is undeniable. Her emotions escalate further as she confesses that she has always been deeply in love with him. She describes her feelings as overwhelming and persistent, comparing them to an illness that refuses to fade. Her love is not gentle or ordinary, but intense and consuming, something that defines her entire existence. She even suggests that not even devouring him would make those feelings disappear, highlighting how dangerous her obsession has become. At that moment, Yae-san undergoes a horrifying transformation, revealing her true monstrous form. Her appearance shifts completely, matching the darkness of her words. She references a strange story about a god who travels endlessly in pursuit of the one she loves, drawing a parallel to her own journey. With a final declaration, she makes it clear that she will no longer allow Sakurai to escape, sealing the moment with an overwhelming sense of inevitability. Yae-san steps closer and begins revealing how deeply she knows Sakurai, exposing details from his past that he has tried to hide. She brings up small, embarrassing actions and even darker habits, showing that nothing about him has escaped her notice. Her knowledge feels overwhelming, almost invasive, as if she has been watching him for years without his awareness. To her, this level of understanding is proof of love, something that cannot exist without knowing every detail. Her tone grows more intense as she explains that she cannot feel at ease unless she understands everything about him. The years they spent apart have only strengthened this obsession, turning her feelings into something far more dangerous. She begins to question how Sakurai plans to make up for all that lost time, placing pressure on him in a way that feels both emotional and threatening. Before he can respond, Miyako suddenly rushes in and attacks Yae-san without hesitation. The sudden clash shocks Sakurai, leaving him frozen in place as the situation escalates instantly. Yae-san reacts with irritation, clearly annoyed that the moment has been interrupted, while Miyako focuses entirely on protecting Sakurai. Miyako reassures him through her actions, making it clear that she has come to save him. However, Sakurai notices how exhausted she looks. Her condition worries him, and he quickly realizes that she may not be strong enough to win this fight. The fear of losing her begins to sink in, adding to his already overwhelming stress. Meanwhile, Yae-san calmly places her hat back on, almost as if she is resetting herself. She briefly acknowledges that the timing is not ideal for a reunion, but her composure remains unshaken. The tension between the two girls continues to rise, with neither of them willing to step back. Sakurai struggles internally, torn between fear and responsibility. He tries to convince himself that Miyako is just a stalker, someone who should not matter this much. But deep down, he cannot ignore the fact that he does not want either of them to die. The weight of the situation becomes unbearable, and he realizes that he cannot let things continue like this. Yae-san attempts to dismiss Miyako, suggesting that she should leave, but Miyako refuses and attacks again. Her determination is absolute, driven by her desire to protect Sakurai at any cost. Even in the middle of the fight, she carries a sense of confidence, believing that everything will be fine as long as she is with him. She even looks ahead to what will happen after the battle, hinting at a personal reward she expects once everything is over. Yae-san responds with growing hostility, brushing off Miyako's words and focusing entirely on eliminating her. Her emotions spiral into aggression as she prepares to destroy her opponent. The fight between them becomes brutal, with both sides refusing to hold back. Sakurai watches helplessly as the two clash with full force. Desperate, he begs them to stop, unable to bear the thought of losing either one. He tries to reason with them, hoping that words might resolve the conflict. He believes there must be another way, something that does not involve violence. However, both Miyako and Yae-san acknowledge his plea but silently reject it. Their expressions make it clear that this is not something that can be settled through conversation. For both of them, the fight is deeply personal, tied to their feelings for Sakurai. It is no longer just a battle for survival, but a clash of emotions and desires that cannot coexist. The intensity of the fight increases, with each blow carrying more weight. Sakurai begins to question everything, unable to understand why all of this is happening because of him. He starts to blame himself, wondering if he is the reason for all the chaos and suffering around him. His sense of identity begins to crack under the pressure, as he struggles to understand who he really is in the middle of all this. As his emotions overwhelm him, he begins to break down, unable to process the situation any longer. Miyako notices his distress even in the middle of the battle. Despite everything, she still prioritizes his feelings, offering him a sense of reassurance. At that critical moment, the situation takes an even darker turn. A new, terrifying monster suddenly appears, its presence overwhelming and unfamiliar. The arrival of this creature adds another layer of danger, turning an already desperate situation into something even more unpredictable. Another terrifying presence suddenly appears, interrupting the ongoing battle. Both Miyako and Yae-san immediately become alert, sensing a new level of danger. The atmosphere grows heavier as this unknown monster steps into the scene, radiating an overwhelming and unnatural aura. Sakurai feels his fear rising again, but this time it is mixed with something deeper. Inside his mind, he struggles with a painful thought, realizing he cannot bear losing anyone again or being left alone once more. Before he can react, the creature moves toward him with hostile intent. The attack is fast and deadly, leaving Sakurai completely defenseless. In that critical moment, both Miyako and Yae-san react at the same time, stepping in to protect him without hesitation. Their actions show that despite their conflict, Sakurai remains the center of their priorities. As the chaos unfolds, Sakurai suddenly experiences something weird and strange. A flood of unfamiliar memories seems to enter his mind, confusing him and making it difficult to understand what is real. It feels as if someone else's emotions and experiences are blending with his own, creating a disturbing sense of connection. The monster, now wounded, begins to express pain in a way that feels almost human. Its words carry emotion, revealing a deep attachment to Sakurai. It confesses that it wanted to stay by his side and expresses love in a twisted, tragic way. This revelation shocks Sakurai, leaving him frozen in fear and confusion as he tries to process what he is hearing. Miyako quickly moves to comfort him, pulling him into a protective embrace. At the same time, another presence can be seen observing them from above, suggesting that the danger is far from over. The situation is no longer just a fight, but something much larger and more complex. Realizing the seriousness of the threat, Yae-san makes a sudden decision. She instructs Miyako to take Sakurai and leave immediately, emphasizing the importance of keeping him away from the new monster. Her tone carries urgency, showing that even she recognizes the danger they are facing. Sakurai tries to stop her, unable to accept being separated again. However, Yae-san makes it clear that this is only temporary. She promises that she will never abandon him and that this decision is the only way to protect him for now. Her words carry both determination and sadness, as if she is forcing herself to step back for his sake. Before they part, she expresses a quiet hope that he will not hate her for this choice. Miyako then takes Sakurai away from the battlefield, holding onto him as he breaks down in tears. He struggles with the pain of leaving Yae-san behind, feeling helpless and overwhelmed by everything that has happened. The emotional weight of the situation continues to build as they move farther away. Once they reach a safer place, Miyako tries to calm him, reassuring him that no one will find them there. She holds him tightly, apologizing for putting him through such a terrifying experience again. Her voice carries guilt, as she feels she has failed to protect him despite her promise. She vows that she will never leave him alone again, expressing her commitment with desperation. Sakurai, however, cannot accept her words so easily. He begins to blame himself, believing that everything happening is his fault. He questions why anyone would risk their life for someone like him, describing himself in a harsh and self-critical way. His frustration and confusion push him to demand an answer, as he searches for a reason to justify why he deserves to be protected at all. Miyako responds with quiet intensity, rejecting his self-hatred. She warns him that thinking this way will only hurt him more. To her, the reasons he is searching for do not matter. She explains that her feelings are not based on logic or self-interest, but something much simpler and deeper. Her love exists without conditions, defining who she is and what she chooses to do. Sakurai struggles to understand her perspective, questioning whether it is acceptable to live without knowing the truth about everything happening around him. Miyako answers in a way that reveals her mindset, suggesting that ignorance and happiness are enough. She envisions a future where they remain together, even if it eventually leads to their end, as long as they can share that peace. Unknown to them, their conversation is being watched through a surveillance camera. Somewhere else, a guy observes Sakurai's emotional state, remaking his vulnerability and youth with a cold and detached attitude. He expresses irritation toward children, viewing them as troublesome and difficult to deal with. Just then, a girl arrives and reports that they have lost track of both Miyako and another target. Instead of reacting with frustration, the man remains calm and strategic. He decides that pursuing them recklessly would only lead to unnecessary risk. For now, he chooses patience, waiting for a better opportunity to act. As he reflects on their next move, his words carry a chilling resolve. When the time comes, he believes they must be willing to become something darker, sacrificing their humanity if necessary, all for the sake of their mission. The girl questions Hashiba whether Miyako will really show up. Hashiba remains confident, believing everything they have prepared depends on her arrival. Moments later, that expectation turns into reality as Miyako suddenly appears near a door, immediately launching into an aggressive confrontation with a mysterious man already waiting there. Miyako is furious and completely on edge, making it clear she wants him gone. However, the man remains calm and composed, showing no fear of her threats. Instead of reacting with hostility, he maintains a controlled demeanor and explains that he wants to avoid unnecessary conflict. His goal is not to fight, at least not tonight, but rather to have a conversation. At the same time, he subtly implies that things will remain peaceful only if Miyako cooperates, creating an uneasy balance between negotiation and danger. While this is happening, the man communicates with Hashiba, signaling that this meeting has been carefully planned. The girl watches closely, unsure whether to step in or remain cautious. Soon after, Hashiba and the girl approach the mysterious man, apologizing for their delay and admitting they are still unfamiliar with the area. The man welcomes them politely, even expressing admiration for their dedication, which contrasts sharply with the tension in the air. He introduces himself as Shurjin, confirming that this is the name others already use for him. Hashiba takes the opportunity to ask about Sakurai, a boy who seems to be at the center of everything. Shurjin shows no hesitation in discussing him and even invites Miyako to listen, though she remains hostile and distrustful, making it clear she has memorized all of their faces as a warning. As the conversation deepens, the girl attempts to calm Miyako, pointing out that there is no immediate reason for violence. Shurjin then reveals the truth about Sakurai, describing him as someone who possesses a unique and dangerous ability referred to as the poison that kills monsters. This revelation shifts the entire mood, as it becomes clear that Sakurai is not just an ordinary person but a critical figure in a much larger conflict. Hashiba elaborates further, explaining the nature of monsters and their existence. Unlike humans, monsters do not truly die. Even if their physical bodies are destroyed, their souls remain and are eventually reborn, trapping them in an endless cycle. Over time, this cycle corrupts both their bodies and minds, driving them toward madness. The only way to break this curse of immortality is through Sakurai's poison, making him a target for all monsters seeking release. The origin of this poison adds another layer of complexity. Hashiba reveals that it was originally created as a way to atone for past sins, but it was later taken by both monsters and Sakurai himself. As a result, Sakurai has been forced to suffer ever since, simply because of something he took when he was young. This paints his life as one filled with hardship and unintended consequences. Shurjin listens and responds with a cold sense of pity, but Miyako immediately rejects his perspective, defending Sakurai and refusing to accept such a detached judgment. Shurjin, however, clarifies that he is not acting on personal opinions. He is merely a messenger, carrying out orders from a higher authority he refers to as the Master. He then delivers a clear and ominous warning to everyone present, including Miyako and the investigators responsible for dealing with monsters. The message is simple but threatening, stating that anyone who interferes will face punishment. With that, Shurjin declares his task complete and prepares to leave, maintaining his calm attitude as if nothing significant has happened. Miyako, still filled with anger, withdraws from the scene without engaging further. After her departure, the tension finally begins to ease. Hashiba reflects on how dangerous the situation was, admitting that things could have gone very differently if they had acted more impulsively. The girl acknowledges her own inexperience, realizing she still has much to learn and needs to improve to avoid future regret. In a quieter moment, Hashiba expresses gratitude for her presence, believing she may have saved his life. As they regroup, he holds onto a photo of himself with Sakurai, suggesting a deeper personal connection. Looking at it, he reflects on Sakurai's past, hinting that the boy once struggled in a similar way, reinforcing the emotional weight behind everything that has just been revealed.